Hi everybody, a very good evening to you. My name's Lorcan Seary and I'm the apprenticeship manager for Irwin Mitchell. We're delighted to be here this evening between 6 and 7 to talk to you about the apprenticeship proposition here at Irwin Mitchell. We've worked really hard to build up our apprenticeship proposition over the last, it'll be nearly 8 years now. And we look forward to sharing the apprenticeship story from Irwin Mitchell. And we've also got some colleagues who are living and breathing the apprenticeship experience. And I hope you'll enjoy them sharing their story. So without further ado, we're going to crack on and continue. So Amy, if you can put on the next slide, please. So again, in terms of what to expect this evening, we're going to be talking a little bit about who Irwin Mitchell is as a company, a little bit about apprenticeships. We're conscious that there might be some teachers, parents, students who might not know too much about apprenticeships. So we're going to dispel some of those myths, etc. We'll also talk to you about what apprenticeship opportunities we will have for starting next year. We will also be covering off the pathways into law. You'll be able to hear from our current apprentices, talk to you about what support is available, and there'll also be an opportunity to answer any questions as well during the session. Now, just as a reminder, you will hopefully see on your screens the Q&A function, the button at the top. So at any point throughout the presentation, please feel free to share any questions that you'd like us to answer on there, and we'll do our very best to answer as many of them. If there are some that we don't get the time to answer, we'll do our best to obviously promote those responses to those questions on our internet site in the coming days. Okay, so without further ado, Amy, next slide, please. And the next one. So yeah, I'm Lorcan Seary. I'm the apprenticeship manager. I've been here for almost 4 years, and I absolutely love this job. It's great working with Irwin Mitchell. We're a company, as you can see, we are legal and financial experts. We're one of the largest full service law firms in the UK, and we've supported over 1 million clients, and that's obviously rising. Whether it's for personal or business, we understand that everyone's situation is different. So we have very passionate colleagues who work obviously for Irwin Mitchell to support our clients in giving the very best service. In terms of the services we offer, it amounts to 180 plus, and again, that seems to be growing year on year. We've got 112 years of heritage and growth. The average partner tenure, which we're known for in the industry, is 12 years. Our assets under management total 1.2 billion. Our last revenue was 300 million, one of our highest ever. We have 256 partners. Our 3,000 strong colleague workforce comprises of 1,843 people who work fee earning with our clients. So a very strong company and one that I absolutely love working for. Next slide, please, Amy. So just a little bit about our structure. We work for Irwin Mitchell, but we also work with IM Asset Management and Ascent. There's also been some acquisitions there, which you'll see, and people we've invested in. Irwin Mitchell Scotland, obviously, is one of our entities, as well as Wright, Johnson and Mackenzie, Silk Family Law, and also TWP. So again, we are growing. We're also opening new offices, which you may well have seen in the last sort of 3 to 4 months as well. So certainly a very rosy future ahead of us. Thanks, Amy. Next slide. Our credentials, again, we're really, really proud of our credentials. You'll see there for the top left, we're ranked in the top 25 in the Legal 500 with 27 teams receiving top tier rankings and another 115 recommended. What we find is that a lot of individuals want to work for us because of the expertise we have in our business, because they very much want to learn and want to thrive and do the very best for our clients. You can see there the Trustpilot score, we're rated as excellent. On Trustpilot, we're just short of 10,000 reviews. And finally, rated as a top tier law firm in Chambers and Partners, we have 52 ranked departments with 23 teams ranked number 1 and 144 individually ranked lawyers, again, which is true testament to the way that our colleagues learn and develop in their careers. Next slide, please, Amy. So just a map here of our offices. We have 18 UK sites, Irwin Mitchell sites, and then you can see the other sites there that have come through recent acquisitions as well. So we're very proud of the geographical base we have. We very much sort of look to recruit apprentices into as many of those offices. Rather than have one law firm in the central or the centre of London, our key mantra is trying to open up as many apprenticeship opportunities within those regions as possible, because we really understand that not everyone wants to move to London. We very much understand that people sometimes want to stay and save and stay with their families for a whole myriad of different reasons. So we're very, very keen and proud of the offerings that we have in a multitude of our offices throughout the UK. Next slide, Amy. And again, we're a great place to work. These are just some recent accolades you can see there. We've been voted for the last 5 years, one of the best places to work, also for development, best places for well-being, an awful lot of investment in well-being, one of the best places for for women, and also one of the best workplaces in consulting and professional services. So again, it's something we strive for, something we feel very, very proud and blessed to be part of. Okay, here's an overview of our structure. So you will see there Lou Lumley, she's our Chief Client Officer. And then underneath her, all those people reporting to Lou, we have the 6 business areas. We have Lisa Jordan, who oversees our medical negligence arm, Tracy Story for our personal injury, Niall Baker for our court of protection, public law and human rights team, Ross Beaver, who works for our private client area. This comprises of the family team, private client services, residential property, etc., wills and estates, those types of functions. And then we also have Fergal Dowling looking after our business services group, real estate, also employment, corporate and finance, those areas. And finally, we have Neil Whiteley, who works under our shared services banner as well. And you can see the other 3 ladies there, they work in supporting really us as a larger team, making sure that we're efficient and as effective for our clients as possible. So that's a little bit about us. Next slide, please, Amy. Okay, so if you can press the button again for me. So some of you, I acknowledge, will know what an apprenticeship is, but for those of you who don't, they've come on leaps and bounds over the last, I'd say, 7 to 10 years. What an apprenticeship is essentially is it's a practical in work and learning experience. Some come with a professional qualification and they're very structured. You will earn money whilst you learn. Normally every apprentice is aligned to a coach or somebody called a learning development advisor, akin to if you're at college or university, you'd get a tutor who you'd be observing, taking lecture notes, etc. It's a bit similar in that you will work with a dedicated coach from the point of the apprenticeship right up to the point of qualification and completion. That coach works for a training provider who we partner with. The whole purpose of an apprenticeship is very much about enhancing your knowledge, skills, and your behaviour. So you'll be tested throughout your apprenticeship, and then hopefully at the very end, you'll be deemed competent, and then you're on your way to future success. The good thing about an apprenticeship is for anyone who starts with us, you get some time out to support your learning. So essentially, if someone's working Monday to Friday, 35 hours a week, 9 to 5, you generally get an extra day off equivalent, so 7 hours to work on your apprenticeship. So if you're a 5-day full-time worker, you essentially end up working for 4 days and then have a day off to support your learning. Personally, I see it as a great alternative to university. As I alluded to a moment ago, they've come on leaps and bounds. We see now degree apprenticeships and masters level apprenticeships, which has triggered an awful lot of interest from a lot of people who work not only within Irwin Mitchell, but also people who want to come and work for us as well. And you also get an endpoint assessment. This is something similar to if you're taking your driving test, you'll be assessed at the end of your apprenticeship by an independent advisor who will then hopefully deem you as competent and then tick you as fully competent, and then you'll have completed your apprenticeship. So that's essentially how an apprenticeship works. We'll move on now to the next slide. Now, what is an apprenticeship? There are some common misconceptions. Probably a few years ago, it was seen that apprenticeships were only for people as in entry-level jobs or for entry-level roles, people in the trade, electricians, plumbing, etc. I had 2 brothers who worked for Jaguar Land Rover and did their apprenticeships in the 70s. For those of lower academic grades, they could only be used on new staff and it would only pay the minimum wage. But thankfully, those misconceptions, are no longer there for the majority of individuals. The reality is that there's almost 860 apprenticeship standards. It can be used now to upskill our colleagues, and a lot of our programs are linked to a university or certainly to a professional qualification. And as I alluded to, you'll have a dedicated coach for your program. They've come on leaps and bounds. 70% of professions now can be pursued via an apprenticeship, which is great news. Certainly, that's got a lot higher, certainly compared to maybe 5 to 7 years ago. Next slide, please, Amy. So here's just a slide which runs through the levels of apprenticeship. So we normally recruit a minimum level, advanced level, which is level 3, which is equivalent to A-level passes. But we also bring people in at the high level, 4, 5, 6, and 7, which is equivalent to foundation degree and above. And we also recruit solicitor apprentices at level 6 and 7, which is equivalent to a bachelor's or master's degree. For me, I started in 2021, so just over sort of since that time, over 3 years, we've recruited or started another 142 apprentices. We've actually increased the number of our programs from 3 to 26 new offerings over the last 3 years. And our completion rate is just under 85%, which is 30% higher than the national average. So something, again, we're immensely proud of. Next slide, please, Amy. Now, in terms of the legal profession, there were changes brought in from September 2021. Traditionally, what used to happen, people would go to university, study a law degree before moving on to the legal practice course. After that practice course, they'd normally complete a 2-year period of recognised training, which was obviously known as a training contract. Or we might have somebody who would take any degree before following up then with a graduate diploma in law, doing some form of conversion, then complete the LPC, then followed by a training contract. However, from September 21, essentially you must hold a degree or equivalent qualification in any subject. And there are 2 new solicitors qualifying exams, 1 and 2, which you need to pass. And then you need to accrue 2 years worth of qualifying experience. So essentially, the only way now, one of the things you need to do now to become a solicitor is complete those 2 exams, get those 2 years worth of qualifying experience, and essentially then you could practice as a fully qualified lawyer. So there's been massive changes to the profession since 2021. Next slide, please, Amy. So you can see here, look, the traditional route was often you'd come in with your law degree. Some people work for us and a lot of other law firms as a paralegal. If they're successful, then they'll be asked to do their legal practice course. They'll then start with us on a training contract, complete their professional skills course, and then become a qualified solicitor, normally after 2 years in that training contract. However, after 2021, we've seen a lot more law firms like ourselves take on solicitor apprentices. So for some people, what that means is we will recruit you from A levels or anybody without a degree. And essentially then we would pay for you to undertake your law degree, which takes roughly 4 to 4.5 years. And then you would complete the solicitors qualifying exams 1 and 2, and also through that accrue the 2 years qualifying work experience. That would mean you're a fully qualified lawyer normally within a 6-year period. Now, I've seen a few figures on social media and a few sort of trusted slides from peers I work with in this industry. Now, if somebody was to go to university and, do the law degree, move away from home, cost of living, work, just everyday living, accommodation costs, and then to do those qualifications, you'd be probably looking to pay around 120,000. So if you are fortunate enough to be offered a solicitor apprenticeship, obviously you've done extremely well. It is competitive, as you would expect, but it can literally be life-changing in that you wouldn't have to pay all that money to obviously study. You would become a fully qualified solicitor with no debt. We also have started this year in Irwin Mitchell. Graduates will also start a solicitor apprenticeship because they've already got their degree. Essentially, what they will undertake is a 27-month program. So again, it's slightly different for the first time this year for those graduates as well. We also will see some people join us as a charter legal executive. Again, they'll come in and then pursue the charter legal executive program as well. So you can see there, look, from what used to be maybe a one offering pathway to study and become a qualified solicitor, you've now got quite a few more offerings, which, you know, I think it just enhances the diversity of the individuals that are now coming in and working for law firms. And hopefully what it's doing is it's mirroring our client base around the UK as well. Okay, next slide, please, Amy. Okay, typically these are the apprenticeship options that we expect to have when we advertise from January next year. The advertising window will be open from January the 27th and close on the 17th of February. We will have a business administration apprenticeship offering. We'll have some finance roles, a tax role as well. So one where you'll be qualified within the tax arena. We're also going to have a number of solicitor apprenticeships, and we're also going to have a number of paralegal opportunities as well. Now, we don't anticipate, I'm afraid, that we'll have any IT roles at this point, but keep your eyes peeled because there could well be some changes to the offerings available when we go live on the 27th of January. So if there is anybody who's attending tonight or watching the recording, if you go on to just Google Irwin Mitchell Apprenticeships, you'll see essentially a button there where you can sign up for registration. So please sign up, leave your details, and when we go live, basically you'll receive an email to say we've gone live. I talked about some myths earlier. You can see there, we pay all our 16 and 18-year-olds or all our new apprentices a minimum of £21,840, which equates to approximately £420 a week. And for those of you based in inner London, it's just under 24,000, which equates to £460 per week. The requirements there above, normally we look for a minimum of 5 GCSEs at levels 9 to 4, 2 of which must include maths and English. And then we also look for most of our roles for 3 A levels. Now, we are different to a lot of other law firms. Some will look for 3 A's, AAB. What we look for are 3 C's as a minimum. Okay. So again, if you're interested, I very much encourage you to apply when we go live in January. Next slide, please, Amy. Now, this is a busy slide. I absolutely accept that. But the reason I wanted to include this slide, you know, even if you're not going to end up working for Irwin Mitchell, but you might be interested in apprenticeships, this is just a selection of different types of programs which we as a firm essentially could take an apprentice on. We won't have opportunities on all of these areas, but if you are looking at other firms as well, you will also find that some of those firms might well be offering some of these apprenticeship offerings. So you can see there, look, there's ones in accountancy, there's a myriad of programs available in the IT arena where you've got data, IT, artificial intelligence, digital, cyber. You've also got program offerings in marketing, team leading, audit, etc. Senior leadership, if there's any career changes out there. So what I would say is, even though we're a law firm, we also have non-law apprenticeships, and you will find other firms do that as well. So, you know, other law firms will also potentially have offerings as well, other than legal pathways. So please just take your time doing some research, because you might find some openings which are really, really of interest to you. So yeah, the very best of luck. Okay, next slide, please, Amy. Okay, so some common myths. So when we've gone out to school events, which we do an awful lot of work into support teachers, parents and students, there's quite a few myths still around. So I just thought it best to put this slide up to hopefully dispel a lot of those myths, so you feel a lot more comfortable about your offerings and opportunities after today. So you will get a low salary. As I alluded to earlier, we pay a salary of £21,840 for all our 16 and 18-year-olds. Okay, so that's something we're quite proud of. It's the living wage. You have to have experience of working in law. You absolutely don't. You can start with this without having any experience in law. You need work experience to be successful with this. You absolutely don't. You can start with this without having any prior work experience. Okay. You need to have a connection within Irwin Mitchell. That's probably something from a few years ago. I came from the banking arena, and quite often, you know, you needed to know somebody to get in to the organization. Thankfully, that is no more. You don't have to know anybody. Anybody can apply, and we operate an open and fair recruitment and assessment process. Okay, so please let me reassure you, if you've not got any work experience or anything, what we look for are basically what you have to offer. So it's about you as a person, you as a personality. We want to see how your values resonate with ours, and hopefully if they do, we can make a very sort of successful partnership. The other myth is that you need A stars and A's to be offered an opportunity. You absolutely don't. What we look for is that minimum criteria at this point in time. And as once you've got those, then essentially it's a level playing field and you will have as good a chance as anyone else to be successful working for our organisation. Okay, next slide, please, Amy. Okay, I'm now going to hand over to Luke. He's a paralegal apprentice. He joined us just a few months ago. So, Luke, over to you.
Thank you very much, Lorcan, and a very good evening to everyone on the call this evening. Yeah, just firstly wanted to speak a bit about my own experience and my day-to-day tasks. So it is a very diverse range of tasks, I feel, and it does vary day on day in the week. Where even though I've been in a job currently now for 3 months, I have been quite on hand with speaking to clients, taking new inquiry calls, or also like Teams calls as well. And that can be either going through and assisting people right there and then, or otherwise handing calls over to our sort of main fee earners in the team, and those that are like fully qualified solicitors at that stage. As well as that, there are a great deal of documents I'll be reviewing, drafting, to be handed up to review, and getting really positive feedback on that. I think that it's something that I felt has been amazing in an apprenticeship, to get that constant feedback. Whether it's positive, it's great to have that, but also constructive feedback to make you sort of only get better, really. And then, of course, with team meetings, that can be within your own team, within a department as well. I've had meetings, but also company-wide as well. It is a very inclusive company, making sure that everyone has been spoken to there and does feel inclusive of that. And then in terms of looking at the office, we do work on more about a hybrid basis, where I'll be working from home for my study day at least, but also do have the choice to work from home just during the week as well as the rest of my team. So sometimes everyone will be working from home, sometimes we'll all be in the office for our anchor days in particular, where everyone in the company will be in for that day. And then also I do feel a lot it's a massive benefit to be able to shadow others when I'm in the office as well. And then also when you're looking at the best parts of an apprenticeship, the wider apprenticeship, I would say, first of all, you are gaining valuable experience, being able to shadow others and being able to balance your work, study and social life quite well, I feel, so far. So as Lorcan said earlier, you will have time aside to study. So you'll have a study day. Mine's on a Friday, so it does make it a bit easier as well, working from home, going into the weekend. And then also there's so much support around the apprenticeship, both on the work side and also the study side, with whether it's Lorcan, whether it's my skills coach, and just a great sort of map of support around you as well at all times. And I think as well, for each week, I'm also allocated tasks. So we'll be set tasks, say, for the week ahead, for the month ahead, just projects that we'll be able to contribute to and make sure that we can sort of benefit the wider team, as well as being able to feel that sense of achievement ourselves and being able to skip those hurdles, really. Can I get the next slide, please, Amy? And I think then as well, for everyone else who's going into an apprenticeship, I think that it is there's a great deal of tips that you can get from Lorcan and from everyone else speaking here as well. I would say that from myself, I had researched quite a bit before making my applications. I'd used certain websites such as Legal Cheek, which would have a list of all applications, and well, basically a list of all companies that do offer apprenticeships, and being able to basically go through, find out perhaps what deadlines are coming up first, etc. Because I know, Irwin Mitchell may not be the only one you're applying for. It wasn't the only one I applied for either, but it was definitely best suited to me. And I would say that with the deadlines being spread out across the year, myself, I had an Excel spreadsheet that I would be able to basically put in the dates for, and it just helped me keep on top of what applications coming next, and I wouldn't say miss out on any deadlines, really. I'd also say that you want to know perhaps a little bit about the background of the company, but also a lot about that particular job role and the description for it, because you want to be able to cater your answers to how to the job role, really. I think that it's good to be yourself, whether it's say speaking about your personal circumstances, talking about your work experience, etc. So far, it is good to be able to be very open and honest with how you've come along so far. And then also when you are doing more writing tasks, it is good to make sure that you are having that time to check and make sure that everything is in order. I know for some applications I was writing perhaps short essays, so it's good to make sure that with timed assessments as well, that you are maintaining perhaps a couple of minutes at the end to make sure that you have enough time to check over your answers, because it can be just one of those mistakes that can make the difference in a competitive apprenticeship application. And I would just say as well to have a bit of uniqueness about it. Again, being open. Not everyone's the same, and that's what they want. They don't want you to be the perfect candidate. It's just someone that they can actually feel personal with, and actually feel that there is more emotion rather than a robot just printing out applications there. And I'll say coming into work as well, that it is very important to stay on top of the balance between work and life and study as well. So you will have a full day of study, which should be enough and has been enough for me so far to sort of do your preparation for a weekly workshop where you'll have a qualified sort of, it can be a past solicitor, now a tutor, etc. in the legal profession. So they obviously will know far more than most people even in the legal office. So yeah, I'll say as well as that, you want to make sure that you are keeping in touch with your cohort. I'm the only apprentice based in London, so being able to reach out to others across the country and other Irwin Mitchell branches has been essential, really, both for the work and also with the university at BPP. It's really good to make sure that you're not just the only one in that situation. There's so many like you, and it really does make you feel not sort of alone in a situation at any point. And finally, I would just say as well that with all of the support that's around, you are able to quite easily speak to others, whether it's at work, whether it's with the university as well. So you will be heard and your needs will be met, and both the university and the apprenticeship will work as hard as they can to make sure that that everyone is catered for, really. So yeah, that's been my experience so far. And I think that's it. Well, thank you very much. If you want to skip to the next slide, Amy.
Hi guys. So my name is Nyasha. I'm a software developer apprentice. So my experience will be a little bit different from what the other guys will tell you. And we do have a massive team. So like I said, I'm a software developer apprentice. I work with product engineering. That's my team. We look after all the systems that the lawyers use. So you've got your case management system, your customer relationship management systems, you've got your document management systems, your timekeeping and billing systems. We've got a website, we've got so many different systems that we look after. We're also in the process of developing a lot of new systems. We're also looking at moving a lot of things over to the cloud. So at the moment, we host everything internally, and we're moving things gradually across the cloud. So there's a lot of interesting work going on at the minute, for those that do get into the IT business. So daily tasks for me include things like weekly stand-ups. So I'm usually speaking to a variety of stakeholders. What I mean by that could be project managers, product owners, it could be business managers, and it could also be other people within IT, so my manager, etc. What those discussions usually tend to be about are ticket reviews. So, if we're developing a new system, we'll work from user stories, which is a ticket with an objective, and we'll just be talking and reviewing about that, making sure we've got the expectations of the business. We know what they want us to deliver. And then once we have that information, we can then go and do the development, which is coding, which is planning, and also just maintaining those systems that we have. Also takes a lot of the time that we have. I am Sheffield based, so the role is home based, but I do come into the office occasionally. Most of our team is separated. There's some colleagues in London, some colleagues in Birmingham, some colleagues in Leeds. So our team isn't that sort of central. So sometimes going into the office, I could be the only person from product engineering. So I don't tend to go a lot, but I do always have the option my manager lives quite close and he does occasionally ask us to come in. I have been to Birmingham for bigger meetings, so you do get to do a bit of traveling, get to see different places. It's a nice role. Could I have the next slide, please, Amy? So what my day looks like. So usually in the morning, we start with team meetings or stand-ups. So this is where, we'll just discuss any work that we're currently doing. We'll discuss any blockers. So our money, that's your opportunity to basically tell someone, I was doing this yesterday. I've got a massive problem with this system and I'm trying to implement this change, but it's not working. Can you ever look at it with me? And, when you're working as an apprentice, you've got so many colleagues that you can reach out to. Everyone is very experienced. So everyone and very nice as well. So everyone's always willing to lend a hand. So this is the opportunity that you normally get in the morning. You say what your blocker is. Someone says, "Oh, I'll have a look at that for you," and then you can schedule a call with them later that day. And then I go through some development work again. So that's just programming, writing some code, doing code reviews, doing pull requests, and just generally making sure that the code that we're writing, is to a good enough standard, and having others look at it because collaboration is what makes IT work, basically. Without going through everything, I have to make some time during the day to go through my emails. So I could be looking at my own personal inbox or shared inbox. In the afternoon, you're usually doing some development work. Sometimes with our teams, we have things like coffee chats. So, we won't be actually doing any work. We'll just have a get together, talk about how the day is going. And, it just helps you create really good relationships with the people that you work with. Usually in the afternoon, continued development work. That's when you're writing a lot of code. As we get to the end of the day, then I'll start to finish up and wrapping up what I'm doing, creating a plan for the next day, and just reviewing what I've done for that day. Just like everyone else, I do get the 1 day off to do my studies. Usually this is done. So I didn't really speak about my apprenticeship provider, but I'm with a company called QA, and they specialize in doing digital apprenticeships. So they have courses that they want us to go through. They have work that we need to deliver. I've just done 2 weeks of training off the job. So I was going through object-oriented programming. Won't bore you with what that is. I'm sure if you're interested in IT, you'll have an idea of what that is. But then based on going through that, they've then given me some work that I need to do. So I can use that day, to go through the majority of that work. But it all coincides with things I'm doing within the business. So at the moment, I'm working on a project. And then I'm going to use that to, and then the day that I get off, I can use that to sort of show what I'm doing, the decisions I'm making throughout that project, and why those decisions have been made. So yeah, that one extra day is key. It's very helpful. And a little bit about myself. I am probably a little bit older than the other guys on this call. So I'm 28 years old. I've already studied I've done a degree before. I enjoyed it. I went to Sheffield Hallam University and I did sport and exercise science. It was a good time, but I made a decision when I was younger that really didn't suit the trajectory that my life ended up going in. I looked recently the other day at my student loan debt, and it's up to 70,000 now. I don't know how it's gone from 37,000 to 70,000, so I owe the government 70,000 somehow. And then after I finished university, I worked in the co-op. I was in customer service, and I also worked for Lloyds Banking Group. I completed a software development bootcamp last year. So I did 3 months training where I just sort of learned the fundamentals. And then I had an interview with my manager, Ben, in April, and I was on the apprenticeship by June. It was quite a scary experience at the time. So, I basically changed career. If I was younger, if I was 18 years old, I would have loved to have had this option available, but it just wasn't. And, at that time, I wasn't sure what I was going to do. But I'd say, an apprenticeship is really, really, it's a good thing to do. You can work and you can learn at the same time. every project we get involved that I've been getting involved in is a real world project. It's got real world consequences. You know, these guys here like Luke, Molly, Amy, even Logan, they use the systems that we build and maintain. So everything that we do, you know, is important. So if you want to get involved in some really, really exciting work, then yeah, you should have a look at joining up as an apprentice. I think that's me, Amy. If you want to pass over to the next person.
Hi, I'm Connor. I am a finance apprentice at Irwin Mitchell, and I'm doing a level 3 diploma in accounting. My journey to Irwin Mitchell kind of started at college. I did biology, chemistry, and maths at A level. I wanted to do a couple of degrees at university, so I went twice, dropped out both times. The style of university didn't really work for me. You know, it's a lot of on the courses I was on, it's a lot of lectures, a lot of listening to people talk at you, and not really, you know, properly taking it in, things like that. And then when you get home, your day's not fully over because they do expect you to do some sort of self-studies as well on top of that. So after I dropped out for the second time, I went to full-time work. I was a hospitality manager at a football club, and I did that for a while, probably about a little bit over a year. I found that the hospitality industry, if anybody's worked in it, is not fun. You do a lot of unsociable hours. So there was great opportunities for me there. So I started applying for some accounting apprenticeships, and this one at Irwin Mitchell was the best one available to me at the time. And I took it and I started here in September last year. So just a little bit over a year doing the apprenticeship now. A typical day for a finance apprentice can kind of depend, depending on what team you're in. So some teams will have a more constant workflow where you have, let's say, a certain amount of bills to process by the end of the day or something like that. But in my team, we tend to have deadlines that are weekly or monthly, or sometimes even just at the end of a specific given period. But in general, I'd say that my day kind of looks like dealing with the most high priority things that come into my inbox, having a bit of a plan to see which one needs tackling first, if there's anything that's, you know, particularly really urgent. Then I'll complete some tasks and I'll go through any issues that I might have had in the morning after lunch with my manager. Can I get the next slide, please? So my responsibilities at the moment are doing a lot of things like drafting the tax returns from start to finish, sending them to the partner so that they can review them and see if they're acceptable, maybe amending any errors or things that we've missed off. I'll then submit that to HMRC, and we have to keep track of any refunds and deficits. So we reserve a lot of tax, a lot of money to pay the tax bills. And sometimes we might have to pay some back to a partner, and sometimes we might have to request some more. So it's really important that we keep track of that so that when we do come to pay it all, that we know that we have enough. We organise a bulk payment file. So that basically means that we pay the tax bill of all the partners at once in one go to HMRC. And then once that's done, I send some statements out to the partners to let them know that we've handled everything for them. I also have a couple of other responsibilities. I deal with a lot of VAT for the business tax, and that's kind of quite different to the other things that I've mentioned. And I also do drawings, which is sort of like a payroll for the partners as well. I have had a chance to rotate to other teams, like billing and payments teams and purchase ledger. And like I said before, those sort of responsibilities were very different. They're very much like a continuous thing that you just got to keep doing and doing every day until you meet whatever target it is. So like I said, maybe getting a certain amount of bills processed by the end of the day. Like I said at the start, I do have experience in full-time work at university and on apprenticeship. So I thought I'd just talk about some of the biggest things that I thought were you know, the big pulls of why you'd want to do an apprenticeship. Obviously, I've already touched on that this suits me more. You know, getting that one day to study, 4 days to work, and put those skills into practice has been a huge upgrade compared to things that I've done in the past. Getting to earn money while you get your qualification obviously means that you don't really miss out on anything. You know, you've got that financial freedom still. If you're saving for a house, going on holidays, doing things with your friends, so you never really have to miss out on anything. The exam structure is a lot different actually to school and college for me. So I've been studying a module and taking an exam, and studying the next one, taking an exam on that. So you get it tested while the knowledge is still kind of fresh in your head, and that's obviously quite a lot different to school where you learn everything and get tested right at the end. So it kind of takes a lot of that pressure off as well. And as Lachlan said earlier, there are further opportunities you can do with apprenticeships. So I can still get exactly where I want to be. My plan would be to do a level 4 and then a level 7, and then that would be kind of as high as I could go. Yeah, I mean, working at Irwin Mitchell has been great so far. My team's been completely supportive, and you know, a lot of these things that I've been doing feel like there are big, important things that require a lot of responsibility. But it's not just a case of like they throw you in at the deep end and just leave you to fend for yourself. There is, like I said, a lot of support, and I think just being able to do those things, and it's nice to have the faith and the trust that they think that you're going to do it well enough and things like that. And it just helps you kind of develop in your career a lot quicker as well, I think. But yeah, I hope that kind of helps shed some light on what it's like in finance. So I'll pass you on to Molly. Thank you.
Hi everyone, so my name's Molly. I'm a current solicitor apprentice in the family team. Little bit of background about me. So I actually came straight from my A-levels. So I did business, psychology and sociology at A-level. And then I applied for the level 3 paralegal apprenticeship offering at Irwin Mitchell in the family team. So I started that role in September 2021. That was a 2-year program, meaning I then qualified as a Silex paralegal in September 2023. I knew that based on my experience as a paralegal apprentice in the family team at Irwin Mitchell, that I wanted to continue my development. So I then applied for the level 7 solicitor apprenticeship in the September as well, after receiving my results. I'm now in my 2nd year, so really enjoying it so far. Obviously, big step up from A-levels, level 3 program, but it's a good challenge. So I actually study with the University of Law. I'm based at the Leeds campus, but it is all online based. You do have chances to go to an in-person induction, which was really nice to meet some of my skills coaches, subject tutors, and other people that are on the programme. So I would say that it's really useful to make those contacts early so you can stay in touch on the programme. In relation to the university, you are assigned a skills coach at the start of the apprenticeship, and you do have regular catch-ups with them to discuss the progress, and this usually takes place on a 10 to 12-week basis. And what the coaches are there for is to touch base with you to see how you're finding the programme, ask and look through your grades to date. So we do have quite a few assessments for each of the modules we study at the degree level, and they'll also touch base with our line manager, who will also give some feedback on how we are doing in our actual role, and we can discuss how it links, because it definitely does interlink with the job we do on a day-to-day basis. So on completion of my apprenticeship, I'll qualify as a solicitor with a law degree. So my programme is, I think, 6 years to 6.5 years in total, with 4 years being the LLB, so the law degree, and then the 2 years preparing and sitting the new solicitor qualifying exams. So there's two of those, so SQE1 and SQE2. The first one being mainly multiple choice questions, and the second one being interviewing and advising. In relation to my typical daily tasks, these can vary on a day-to-day basis, which is one of the main reasons why I love this job. So, like the others, take the time to review and check my emails and do any admin tasks that are needed. I do sit in a lot of client appointments, and these can be either virtually, so Microsoft Teams if that's what the client prefers, or face-to-face in the office. So I'm actually based in the Sheffield office, but I do also split my time with the Leeds office as well. So it's great to see people face-to-face now that COVID's sort of passed. Another thing that I get involved in is attending court with barristers or just with clients, and I find this a really invaluable experience, especially when you're preparing for the court hearings with the solicitors. I also get involved in drafting a lot of legal documents, so witness statements, court applications, anything that's needing doing in relation to that. I also take new inquiry calls into the team. So I'm actually assigned to a rota. We have a rota in the family team. And this means that I take 2 half days to take any new inquiry calls. And if they are wanting some further advice, I book them in for a meeting with one of our solicitors, and I get to then attend that meeting and co-work the file moving forward. And I do actually have some of my own cases. So I have some divorce cases in my own name. So that means that I have sole contact with the client. They can come to me if they need anything. So I've also got the responsibility of billing the clients and just checking to make sure that everything's running smoothly. And at the bottom there, I've said that the thing I most enjoy about my role is that no 2 days are the same. There's so many different things that crop up in a day that you can't plan for. So in the family team, we do have a lot of court deadlines and urgent cases that get, listed without us being aware of. So one example in the team is abduction cases. So we deal with a lot of child abduction, meaning that an urgent hearing could be listed that we need to reprioritise our whole day for. And in family, we're actually a national team. So this means that I work with so many different people. I think there's about 100 of us, so split across the whole country. And I have found that there's so many opportunities to learn and progress in my role. Next slide, please, Amy. So I've just set out on this slide a few of the best bits that I've found about the apprenticeship and also some challenges that others may come across. So in relation to the best bits, mirroring from what the others have said, you definitely get some really good practical experience. You get to earn as you learn. So I also have the 1 day off per week for my studies. So I have a Wednesday, which is really good. It's sort of a midpoint of the week to focus on what's needed for my degree. I've said here that going to university doesn't automatically secure you a job when you graduate. So I know that our training contracts are really, really competitive. So I found that actually having the apprenticeship has meant that I got my foot in the door early, and I've got a secure employment at the end of the apprenticeship. Obviously, no university debt, gained some transferable skills, and it's definitely massively increased my confidence. I would say that I was such a shy person at school and sixth form, but coming into the world of work, a corporate job at 18, it's definitely increased my confidence, I would say. There's a wide range of apprenticeships nowadays, and they're definitely becoming more recognised. I know when I was at school, they weren't a massive thing. But now I hope that we've shared with you the different types of apprenticeships that we as Irwin Mitchell offer, what other non-legal apprenticeships there are, and I hope that it allows you to think a bit more carefully when making the decision as to what to do when you leave school or sixth form. In relation to the challenges, I wouldn't necessarily class these as cons at all, but there is a few things for you to think about when you're deciding, between university or an apprenticeship. So I would say that it is definitely a step up from full-time education. You have got additional responsibilities, especially when you're working and studying. But I think it's just about finding the right balance and, looking at the end goal and what you want out of it. Obviously, for the solicitor apprenticeship that I'm on, it's 6 to 6.5 years, so it is quite a big commitment. I personally knew that I wanted to commit to it after having the previous experience. But I think if it's something that you do want in the future, if you do want to qualify and you do want to do it through the apprenticeship route, it's definitely well worth it. Some may say that they fear of missing out on the university experience, but I can definitely say that my social life hasn't lacked from doing the apprenticeship. We obviously have weekends off, we have our evenings free, so I think it's just, getting the balance of all those three things. And in relation to holiday periods, we don't obviously get the summer holidays off and whatever else that people at university would do, but we do have some really good benefits here at Irwin Mitchell in relation to holiday days, so I don't feel that I miss out being on the apprenticeship. So that's just a little bit about me. I hope that's given you an insight into what I do, what the family team offers, and what we have at Irwin Mitchell. Thanks, Amy.
Okay, thanks a lot, Molly, and thanks everybody. Just a couple of other slides now. When I and some of my colleagues, continue to go and do outreach work at schools and colleges, I think the million-dollar question at the moment I'm asked is, what should I do? Should I go to university or should I apply for an apprenticeship? Unfortunately, what we are still seeing is a lot of teachers saying to the students, why do you want to go and do an apprenticeship? You're way too intelligent for that. But hopefully from our session today, you can see that there's a whole plethora of opportunities at companies like ours at Irwin Mitchell. So, I think the stigma is definitely gone in the large majority of cases. I have two daughters, one who went to uni. I've also got another one who is doing a degree apprenticeship in project management. And, I think what I would say is university can be right for certain individuals. Apprenticeships can be right for certain individuals. But what we're finding is that there's still not enough students, parents and teachers all being informed about the alternatives to university. So this is one of the reasons why we very much wanted to put on this session here. So hopefully with us providing you with our real life stories and what our offering is, it can just open up more open and honest sort of communication discussions really between you, your parents, your families, etc. So you can make the best informed decision for you. And hopefully that will mean that you make the right decision. So what I would say is, both pathways are valid for individuals. So this is why I would really encourage you to do your research. If you are not looking to move away from home, think about looking at all those firms, whether they be, small and medium enterprise organizations, smaller firms or larger firms within your areas, within your geographical locations, because you may well find some quite surprising outcomes in terms of the roles, etc., that they'll be offering. They may well take graduates on, but also apprentices as well. You've seen already and heard from me about the number of apprenticeships available, so keep an open mind. Obviously, apprenticeships mean, like Molly was alluding to, you can get your foot in the door a lot sooner. It can help build relationships in the workplace. Sometimes a lot of our individuals join us straight from leaving school. We put on a few sessions about how to transition into the workplace, but some still find it quite overwhelming. So we put a lot of support, in front of them and give them real sort of supportive structures and training and development to help them cope with that, because it can be really overwhelming, for the first few days, weeks, etc. I think what apprenticeships do as well, they can enable you to gain a qualification which is transferable. I think, it can be a relatively good wage and good hours. You can still socialize. It means that you're learning and earning and actually acquiring, invaluable real work experience. As you've seen, there's a number of different pathways available, and there's nothing stopping university further studying in the future. Next slide, please, Amy. So support that you'll get, you can see me and my colleagues. We are one emerging talent team. I think we're quite unusual in Irwin Mitchell. I'm a dedicated apprenticeship manager, and I take that role with real pride, and it's a real privilege role that I, spend a lot of time with my managers and my apprentices. We retain around 98% of our apprentices, which is absolutely fantastic. So I really, really enjoy the role. But again, really looking forward to recruiting our next cohort of apprentices September of next year. I regularly hold one-to-ones with you and your managers. You'll also get that training provider, dedicated coach. You'll be part of that wider network. Again, we're looking to recruit potentially between 20 and 30 new apprentices each year. You'll all join an induction face-to-face, normally in Birmingham or Manchester, and that's just a really nice way to get to know your fellow colleagues. We also make sure that you're partnered with a buddy as soon as possible after you're offered the job and you've accepted. That buddy, they will then work with you to answer any questions you may have about joining, starting at Irwin Mitchell. And then we also have a number of onboarding sessions where you'll get to meet the cohorts that you're going to be working with and joining at the induction in September as well. Next slide, please, Amy. So why choose an apprenticeship at Irwin Mitchell? since I started just nearly 4 years ago, continue to say this every day, that apprenticeships are pivotal to Irwin Mitchell's future success. One of Irwin Mitchell's organisational aims and objectives is to enhance our diversity and inclusion. And apprenticeships have enabled us to do that. You know, we see some fantastic people joining from all sorts of backgrounds, different minority groups, etc. And that's fantastic to see. Irwin Mitchell, we were named as the top law firm under the Job Crowd activity, which is an annual ranking activity early this year. We were the highest ranked law firm in the Rate My Apprenticeship Employer rankings in 2024. Now, what's really special about this is that those rankings for the Rate My Apprenticeship activity, those rankings are purely taken from the responses to a survey of our own apprentices. It's not us who do it, it's another organisation, and they're all completely anonymised. And just before I started, we were 93rd, and now we've moved to 14th in the space of 3 years. So something we're extremely proud of. We operate, as Luke was alluding to, a flexi by choice working model. So sometimes people can agree with their managers to work hybrid. Some people come into the office full time, some people don't. What we always want to make sure before that's agreed, though, is that, you know, our client service delivery activity is not impacted at all. So it certainly is an opportunity, and that will be up for any apprentice then to discuss that with your manager. I feel we've got an excellent training and development sort of opportunity and offering. We've got a good degree of delivering apprenticeships now. I've been here for 4 years, but I've been involved in apprenticeships now for almost 15 years and involved in the early career landscape for 20 years. So somebody who's been around the block a bit, but hopefully when you know, if you get an opportunity to join us, you know you'll be managed well and given every opportunity to succeed. You'll join an annual cohort. There's many networking opportunities, and then career progression. We look to retain all our apprentices after their programs, and there's many opportunities like Connor was alluding to, after the initial apprenticeship, where we can look at further ones as well. Next slide, please, Amy. So here's the timeline. So we'll be opening in January. That's the 27th of January. You can go on to, if you Google Irwin Mitchell Apprenticeships, and you can register. You will then get an alert when we go live. We'll be closing on the 17th of February. We will then be running the assessment centres during March and May. The offers will be starting to be made in April. So again, really look forward to any applications that anyone is listening to us today. Encourage you to apply. Take the time to research about our firm, and then if you're successful, you could be one of those 20 to 30 apprentices joining us in September, where you'll be meeting with me and Amy and perhaps a few of the apprentices on the call here today. Next slide, please, Amy. Just again, I'll leave this slide up if you've got your phones handy. Please take a picture of this slide, because it contains some useful website links, etc., and useful sources where you can find some more information about, the latest sort of chain of events within the apprenticeship arena in the UK. But there's some really useful websites there as well. So I'll just leave that up for another few seconds. And whilst you're doing that, I'll just go into the Q&A section. We've been trying to do our very best to answer these. Okay, right, next slide, please, Amy. Okay, so that's a picture from one of our most recent apprentice cohorts. So, right, that is, I can't believe how quickly that's gone. It's 6:58. We have 2 more minutes. Amy, were there any key ones that you felt we should answer, any others that we haven't got back on? Okay, well, listen, that is absolutely great. Thank you so much for your time. It's very much appreciated. We hope you've received the information you were hoping for. And yeah, we would like to take this opportunity to wish you a very pleasant evening. And for all those who are thinking of applying, wish you the very best of luck with your application. And who knows, we might be seeing you in the not too distant future. So thanks ever so much, everybody. Take care.